Hello, hello, and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 2024 ProShare wrap-up event. I am Quenisha Caballero, and as the chair of the ProShare Networking Program, brought to you by the UCLA Administrative Management Group, it's an honor to be here with you today as we conclude the 10th cohort of our program, a significant milestone in our history. Yes, ProShare has been going strong for 10 years. This cohort represents not just the culmination of another successful year, but also a monumentous chapter in our journey as a community of administrative professionals dedicated to professional growth and networking. So, a very special thanks to all of you for seeing this experience through to the finish line. This year, we've witnessed some historic changes. For the first time, the AMG board voted to introduce the roles of ProShare chair and co-chair, marking a new era of structure. It has been an absolute pleasure working with the ProShare co-chair, Peyton Reddick, in preparation of today's event, and I look forward to our limitless possibilities in our collaborations. I'm deeply honored to serve as the inaugural chair, and I believe these roles will provide us with even greater opportunities to support and guide future ProShare cohorts. So let's take this time to reflect together and look forward to the exciting future that lies ahead as we ProShare our journey. Before we get started, I would like to ask everyone to please rename yourself by listing your group, the group number first, and then your first name. For instance, I am 10 Quenisha, so I actually update that myself. So you just rename yourself, put your group number and your first name. That will help us in facilitating our breakout groups. Okay. Give you a moment to do that. Okay. Now, for more than a decade, Michael B. Jenkins has been a dedicated professional at UCLA Health, currently serving as the manager of IT risk operations for the UCLA Health Sciences enterprise. He holds both a Doctor of Philosophy, Ph.D., and a Master of Business Administration, MBA, degree. Michael is also a seasoned leadership consultant and a sought-after speaker at regional, state, and national conferences. Beyond these impressive credentials, Michael has developed a strong connection with AMG. He has actively contributed to AMG newsletters, delivered an impactful presentation on future-proof leadership at a recent AMG event, and engaged in meaningful conversations with AMG members, sharing invaluable insights. So without further ado, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce our guest speaker for today, Michael B. Jenkins.
Hello, everyone. Don't worry, my microphone's going to come up in just a second. Can you all hear me now? All right, perfect. I am going to jump straight in. I first want to congratulate you all on investing the time and the energy to do this. I am a proponent of anything that you can do to improve your career path and yourself as a leader in the enterprise. And so I just want to share a few things with you about my career path and trajectory here that I think may be helpful to you. The first one is that I want to encourage all of you, if you do not already have one, to find a mentor. For some of you, the mentor may find you. For others of you, you may have to go looking for them. But finding a mentor that knows the UCLA system is going to be invaluable to you as you navigate your career. It doesn't matter where you are in your career, whether you're just starting, whether you've been here for decades. Having a mentor that works in this system, knows this system, is going to be invaluable to you. So I want to start off by saying to you, under the heading of mentorship, that I did not get the job that I applied for when I came to UCLA. I didn't get it. I was not chosen. And I got a phone call from one of the C-level executives that was doing the hiring. And he asked me to take a job that I, for lack of a better expression, thought was beneath me. Not beneath me because I was too good to do the job, but where I thought my career was, the job was a step backward, if you will. But they were willing to pay what I asked for. They were willing to give me what I asked for. That was 11 and a half years ago now. Um, but what he said to me when he called to offer me this job and asked me to come in and take it was, there's plenty of opportunity here for somebody like you. I didn't know what that meant, but it made me feel awfully good about not having gotten the job that I applied for. And so I took the position that they offered me and I came in. And on the very first day at UCLA, I was born here, by the way, and went to work in the building that I was born in. Go figure. And on my first day on the job, my manager pulled me into the office and he began to teach me the UCLA Health Way. He taught me things that I think are invaluable and have helped me navigate my career. I do not believe that my career would be where it is if he had not taken the time to teach me those things. And every week he called me into his office and he gave me a little more every week without me asking. I'm going to give you some hints about why in a minute. But I discovered that a lot of people have negative opinions about their own managers in this system because they were never mentored by people who know the system. The manager was never mentored by people who know the system. Here's what I mean when I say that to you. There are things that you can use and leverage as a manager to incentivize your staff, to make your staff feel appreciated, that most people don't even know about because they don't know the system. They don't know how to get raises for their people. They don't know how to submit equity increase reviews for their people. There are all sorts of things that this system will make available to you if you know how to access those resources. And so I learned very, very early on because in my interview, when I was asked about my long-term goals and plans, I turned to that manager who was sitting in the room and said, in the next 12 months, I want to be in his job. And the director who was interviewing me laughed. And then he interrupted her laughter and said, I'm retiring in a year. Because he was retiring in a year, my statement was completely feasible to him. And he was all too happy to help me get there before he took his before he took his golden ticket and left. He was all too happy to teach me the way. But I didn't get the job. That was one step away from him. I was actually several steps down the line from him in where I landed. However, I want to come back to the original thought, which is you need to find a mentor. Sometimes they'll find you, but you definitely want to find one or be found by one. He also taught me how to be resilient when things don't go my way. I didn't get the job that I applied for. And sometimes things are not going to go your way. You're going to go ask for something for one of your staff and you're going to be told no. You're going to go ask for something for yourself and you're going to be told no. The question is, how do you navigate what comes after no? He taught me how to be resilient in that regard and how to always be forward looking and have a plan when things don't go my way. I was still upset that I hadn't gotten the job that I applied for when he asked me about my long-term goals. And I didn't have any because my plan didn't work out. And it taught me in that moment that I needed to have a plan and I needed to always be thinking ahead and have my next steps mapped out, not in the fine details, but big picture, broad strokes. I needed to know what I planned to do next because I hadn't thought about what came after the no. But you need to plan for that and you need to write it down. I won't bore you with the statistics around the percentage of people who accomplish their goals just because they took a piece of paper and a pen and physically wrote it down. But the numbers are staggering about the percentage of people who actually meet their goals because they took the time to write them down. So relative to my career, he taught me to only stay in one place briefly. Don't go into a position and stay there forever. If you look at career tracks, it's built for a person to come in with no experience at the bottom of the pay scale and then over a 30-year career end up somewhere at the top. You won't make any money here that way. You won't promote here that way, generally. There are a lot of people who are perfectly happy to come in at the bottom and work their way up over a 30-year career. There are other people that are much more ambitious and goal oriented than that. And you can't stay in the same place forever if you want to grow your career. It's impossible. It's never going to work. So take the chance, move around. If you don't like where you land, give it some time. It's not the end of the world. And then move again. Check the careers website every 30 to 60 days so that you know what roles exist around you. What are other people doing with the roles that look like the one that I'm in? Are there ways for my current role to grow beyond where it is because other people are taking my same type of job and adding other duties to it and posting it for somebody else? That is a safe position. But you also want to look for stretch positions. Are there things that are out there that are going to pull me outside of my comfort zone? Not because I couldn't get the position. Maybe I'm qualified for it, but it's a stretch for me because there's something about it. There's an area of it that's going to require me to stretch my current skills, to learn a new skill, to get a new certification of some kind. Those are called stretch goals. And so you can find jobs like that on the career site that will stretch you and pull you out of your comfort zone. So a few years later, I was confronted with the same question. My administrative director, in a completely different position that I was in, asked me about my long-term goals, and I didn't have an answer because I just met my long-term goal, which was to move into management. He was retiring in a year. I did not get the PA4 position that was intended to move into his role when he retired. But a year and 4 months later, I moved into a management role in the hospital. And he actually, on his last day at UCLA at work, his last day, he gave my recommendation to the hiring manager and saw me off to my new role. And when I got there, that was my long-term goal, the one I had when I came in and didn't reach. When I got there, she asked me what my long-term goals were. And I think it might have been on the very first day. She asked me about my long-term goals. And I was very, very taken aback because in my mind, it's day one. I just met my long-term goal. Why are you asking me about my long-term goals again? But it put me on the spot and it forced me to accept the reality that I should always be looking forward. You cannot just be content and satisfied with where you are. You need to be looking forward. That's personally, that's professionally. People who get too content with where they are don't grow because they don't have anything to stretch for. They don't have anything to reach for. So when I left that meeting that same day, as she asked me about my long-term goals, I went and met with my own staff and I started asking them about their long-term goals. And what it did for me was it put me in a position to help them start reaching theirs. They are some of, to this very day, many of them still work at UCLA, some of the most fiercely loyal people that I've ever worked with and that have ever worked for me are the people that I took the time to ask about their long-term goals and then took steps to help reach them. I still get messages on my birthday from them. I still get messages on Teams and emails asking me how my daughter is doing. Oh, what grade is she in now? Because I invested myself not just in figuring out what was best for me, but in figuring out what was best and how to help other people navigate where they're headed in their own careers. Let's see. She called me in her office a few months later, and she told me about a specific type of position that existed in the health system that I had no idea existed, and told me to keep an eye open for that kind of role so that I could start building my career in that direction. It's the same thing that I was saying to you earlier about having stretch goals. She wasn't telling me to quit and go leave working for her and go find another job a few months after I'd gotten into the job. She's telling me to look forward and be looking at my next step and making sure that my career path is pointed in that direction. I actually made a very different type of decision. And Mark, I'm going to pick on you in just a second. I made a different type of decision about where I wanted my career to go. And as I was making that decision and looking at the people that were in the types of roles that I was interested in, it changed what I went to school for. I'm a technical guy. I've always been in school for technical stuff. But when I noticed that the people that were in the job that I was interested in had MBAs, I went and got an MBA because that's the direction that I wanted to point my career in. Fun fact, if I back up for just a minute to when I first came in, I hadn't finished a bachelor's degree. I had about 90 hours toward my bachelor's degree, somewhere between 90 and 100 hours of it done. And that same fella that said, come on, there's tons of opportunity here for somebody like you, also said, you need to go back to school and finish. You're coming to work at an academic medical center. It's one of the most prestigious institutions in the world. Why wouldn't you go finish those last few hours? Before he left UCLA, I was happy to sit in a meeting with him and tell him, by the way, I finished that degree that you told me to go finish, and I'm starting my MBA now. So the decisions that you make, even about things like education, certifications that you're going to undertake, the career and professional development programs that UCLA offers, and I highly recommend that you do those so that you learn how to manage the UCLA way. All of those things are designed to point your career in a particular direction. So after I did the education and after I finished my PhD, I called Mark Lucas on the phone and I said, hey, Mark, the career path that I want to be on required this education. I went and got it. What do you think my next steps are to help get there? I was just glad to know somebody like Mark that I could call and ask those questions to. And he doesn't know it yet, but he's not done until he helps me unlock the door to get into the spaces that I pointed my career in the direction of. I'm almost done. You need to find a mentor. You need to be a mentor. I've had several in my career, and they all left lasting impressions on me that guide how I engage my own staff and navigate this system. In 11 and a half years, for those of you that these things matter to, in 11 and a half years, my salary has increased 220% in 11 and a half years. 220%. And I attribute that to the good mentors that I had that exposed me to their own networks and helped grow my career. The last thing that I want to say to you, and I'm wrapping up, is get in the way. I know people typically tell you to get out of the way, but you need to get in the way. I highly recommend that you do it. I am currently managing the team of people who trained me to do my job. And I attribute the ability to manage people who train me to do my job on the fact that I got in the way. When we got a new leader and he came in, every question he had, I answered. Everything he needed, I was the person to say, don't worry about it. I'll go take care of it. I'll get it done. I had no interest in managing this team. I stopped managing people and moved into this career, pointed my career in a completely different direction so I could focus on doing my PhD work. And I wanted a job where I didn't have to worry about other people's problems and I didn't have to worry about managing other people. Just make me an individual contributor, but just being the person that had the answer, that was willing to go make the call, that was willing to go find an answer, even if you didn't have it, opened the door for my career to continue to grow beyond where it was. So the last thing that I want to say to you, and then I'll open the floor for questions if we have time for that, Quenisha, keep me honest, is to get in the way. Don't focus on getting out of the way, focus on getting in the way. And being able to answer questions that other people can't answer for themselves, open doors for people that they cannot answer for themselves. And what you will find is even the people around you will begin to say, no, no, no. They care about the answers to things that pertain to my life. They care about opening doors for things for me. Even at a peer level, I don't mind being led by them.